Talking fishing, nothing but fishing, talking fishing. If it's facts about fishing that you want to know, then tune in, folks, cause this is the show. We'll show you all the right bait to use, so sit right back, you got nothing to lose. Doesn't really matter if it's trout or carp, flathead, marlin or a gummy shark. Listen to the guys and you can't go wrong. They'll be talking about fishing till the cows come home. Talking fishing, nothing but fishing, we're talking fishing.
And welcome everyone to Talking Fishing, another special show coming your way tonight with a couple of special guests joining us. Before introducing them, if you watched last week's show, you would have seen the Premier Daniel Andrews and Minister Jarla Pulford joined us in the studios to announce Labor's plan for recreational fishing and boating. Tonight, we hear the other side of politics. Many of you say keep the politics out of fishing, but we can't. Like it or not, many of you write to us constantly about the state of our boat ramps. You can't catch a bream in the Gippsland Lakes and you want better facilities. State government election time for recreational fishers has become a platform for improvement. And so tonight, we complete the platform with the Liberal Nationals. Before we welcome our special guests, it's a very good evening to the man who travels by kayak. Adam Ring, welcome, Ads.
Thanks, Dave. I did travel by kayak and I must have been the only fisherman in Victoria that didn't catch a snapper on the weekend, so I need to lift my game. But it doesn't matter because we're on fire, Dave. Huge show tonight.
It is a big
We're
show.
on fire.
It's always a big welcome to the man all the way from Shepparton, Stephen Victor McEnroe.
Thanks, Dave. We did share a court on the weekend, didn't we? And had a bit of a bash with a tennis racket.
We had a serious Mansfield Open on the weekend, didn't we?
We did, and I've learned that tennis is all about who loses, not who wins.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I did all right on the first day, but the second day was a bit tough.
The second one.
And on a scale of 1 to I'm done, how sore are you both still?
No, it was good.
No, I'm sore.
Yeah, so I retired early. You kept playing. I went to the pool.
Yeah, that's something to prove.
But anyway, tonight is about launching the Liberal Nationals platform for recreational fishing. And firstly, let's welcome to the studio Donna Bauer, who is the candidate for Carrum. Welcome to the show, Donna.
Thank you, David. Great to be here with you all.
Now, I don't mind declaring we've been friends for must be 12, 13 years.
Absolutely.
I've employed 2 of your sons at the tackle shop.
That's right.
And I know how good a fisher person you are, and your boys.
Oh, I love it.
So,
I love it.
yeah.
I don't have as much time to get out on the bay as much as I'd love to, but with 4 sons,
you do get out
I
there.
already loved fishing, but love it even more now.
Can I ask you one question without notice? On a scale of 0 to 10, how much would you like to be the Fisheries Minister?
Oh. Yeah, we'd love it. Love it. That would be a dream job.
Can I just introduce the boss, because you brought the boss in.
Absolutely.
And the next guest in the studio is the opposition leader, Matthew Guy. Welcome to Talking Fishing, Matthew.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks for having me.
You may be the person that just makes Donna the no pressure, and we don't have any influence, all right?
I love the question without notice.
We reckon Donna would make it
But
good.
the member for Carrum, I wish he's got a seaside electorate, you know. So
absolutely.
Bayside electorate can do it.
Yeah. So no, it's pretty good. Thank you for coming along. Now I know you've made some announcements up until now. You've made a couple, and we'll recap those during the night. But you've got some really good ones to make tonight as well, and that's what it's all about. You know, we want to inform our viewers, I guess, and we're pretty lucky. Particularly in the eyes of Neil Mitchell, I guess, is that we have the privilege of having you on the show, and our aim as a talking fishing show is to inform our viewers what the platforms are for for each major political party, and it's great to have you guys along.
We really appreciate it. I mean, fishing and recreational fishing is just such an enormous sport. So many Victorians are involved in fishing. You know, most of my family, apart from me, I have to declare that I'm not the best fisherman around. You know that. But they love it, and it's such a great sport, and it's great to start kids at a young age. It's great to, it doesn't depend on age or where you are, and so getting out, putting a rod and reel in, go for it, get your line in, is what people want to be able to do. So we've got to make it easier and better to be able to fish.
Yeah, absolutely.
What I found amazing is in our boating policy launch is how many boats are actually registered in Victoria.
A lot.
And this is probably a lot of news to people north of the Murray who think people don't own boats in Victoria. But something Donna kept saying to me is just note how many people have boats here in Victoria. It's amazing.
I think if you ask anybody they've probably fished once in their life.
Yes.
Now, there's a lot of people that do it all the time, but if you probably ask anybody, they've always, they've fished once in their life. So we're going to take a look at a few good fish now because, folks, over here, folks, it's time to have a look at what the people at home are catching. It's time for Catch of the Week.
Catch of the Week, brought to you by Shimano.
And let's kick it off with, of course, snapper, because it is snapper season, boys. And the first one came from, now some of these might be a week or two old because we were away for Cup Weekend, but have a look at this Adrian Jordana of Crawfish Rock. That is a cracking snapper in anyone's books.
Snapper, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a big, look at this. How big do you know how big that was? That's a big fish.
Didn't get a measurement on that one.
That's good.
They get bigger.
Yeah.
Let's keep going.
Hello.
Let's keep going. Ben Ramsey, have a look at this one. This one came from Pelican Island, which was
Benny.
a hotspot last weekend.
Yes.
Now have a look at that. Every bit of probably 6 kilos there, 78 centimetres anyway. Some people, Matthew, if you catch a real big one, it's in kilos, and if you're not too sure whether it's that big, it's in centimetres. So if you catch a trout, it's in pounds. So it's like
what is
different
what
languages.
is the fisher person's language?
There's none.
Depends on the
kilos,
species.
pounds.
Depends on the species.
The one that looked the biggest.
Feel bigger.
Yeah, it's going to hold it closer to the camera.
So have a look at this next one, because Sean Ferdier, who is the absolute expert,
Wow, that's
he
a nice
got
one.
Peter Guerra out. Now, apologies, Sean, you sent me a really good story about this. I think it was Peter's first snapper ever.
Yep, it certainly was.
Since Sean took over the business, I think it's his best snapper that he's had on board the boat. So, for a customer. So, and that is a cracker. And Matthew, a serious question here. If you are elected Premier, is there any chance that you could legislate that Sean Ferdier has to give his GPS marks to every animal?
I think that's straightforward. That's a 100-day promise. You need to do it in the first 100 days. I think we have to do that. Otherwise, it's it's just not. It's going to be seen as just an invented outcome.
So there you go. We've got a promise. The first election policy promise now is that Sean Ferdier will have to give his GPS marks by legislation. Because all we get from Sean is it's caught in Westerport.
It's like Lazarus Reef, that missing gold mine that apparently is meant to be masses full of gold and no one ever knew where it was.
All right, let's head over to Port Phillip Bay now, and I tell you what, the land-based fishing is just as good as off the boat. Have a look at this off Mornington Pier. Peter Bentley, a 4.5 kilo off the pier. How good is that?
And that hasn't been unusual. That pier has been fishing insane the last few weeks. It's been great.
That's an angry-looking snapper.
I'd be pretty upset too if I had to pose for a photo like that if I was a snapper.
I think he just got
either, but anyway,
he just got whacked over the head. Have a look at it.
It was clearly his second biggest fish ever because he wasn't too stoked with that one.
Now the young guns have been out. Let's have a look at this. What happened off Seaford last weekend is absolutely fantastic. Max and Lucas Redezovic. I think I've got that right. Redezovic. A beautiful pair of snapper.
Yeah, great pair.
Off Seaford. It's just absolutely fantastic. So well done to the young boys. Hardly lifting those fish there. It's just fantastic to see the young kids. Let's keep moving along. Let's head inland now. And those trout that were released into the Goulburn River for the opening of trout season, they just kept going. Have a look at this. Now, Jeff King's from Sydney. That's his first trout he's ever caught.
You've clocked it, mate. Hang your boots up. Move on to the next species.
We're going to talk about it. You are going to talk about a tourism plan later on.
Sure are.
And we've got the best snapper. We've got the best trout.
And that's why it's important.
Absolutely, it is. We've got some great things in Victoria. It's not only the trout, it's the natives that are going well as well. And let's have a look at the next one, which is John Ducker, a lovely 55 centimetre yellow belly. Carrum. Where's that, Trilly?
Carrum's over near Bendigo.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a lot of redfin actually coming out of Carrum, but that's a cracker.
That's a huge yellow.
Yeah, he's got a belly on him like me, hasn't he?
Yeah.
John too.
Now, some people may describe us as a little slow on talking fishing, but this catch of the week was actually 1 year and 3 days ago. Let's have a look at it. Off Carrum. Donna Bauer. Donna Bauer.
What a beauty.
A bit slow to get your photo in, Donna.
Yeah.
You're catching up 1 year and 3
I
days
reckon
ago.
she put that on social media. I've seen that picture
Yesterday.
before.
Yeah. 1 year and 1
Seen
day.
that. She has
Every
been
month.
boasting about that before.
That was a Facebook memory. That's right.
I've had the memory
And,
12 times in the last
That's
few
my
months.
record. That's my record.
Facebook program.
Love it.
Out with young Dougie.
Pardon?
Out with young Dougie that day.
Yes, Dougie took me out and he caught a record for me, so it was fantastic. And when I hooked in, he made me bait it, and when the snapper started to run, I said, look, Dougie, you hook it for me. And he said, no, you're doing it. He made me fight it, and he helped me net it. But it was a big fish.
I've got a story
I think it was as big as the ones behind you, maybe.
Bigger. I reckon bigger.
Bigger, maybe.
I've got a story about Dougie, but they're yelling at us to close this segment. So if you'd like to send in your catch of the week, this is what you have to do.
If you want to be like me and have your photo on TV, email your fishing pic to info@ifish.com.au.
Yeah, I wanna go fishing.
And coming up next, we start the platform of the Liberal Nationals fishing policy right after this on Talking Fishing.
Talking fishing.
We know what you'd rather be doing.
We know what you've really got in mind.
We know you'd rather be out fishing. And today's the day you're gonna wear the line. 'Cause every day's a good day.
Stop wishing.
Every day's a chance to drift away. Drift away.
Every day's a good day for fishing. See it down and tackle world today.
Talking fishing, nothing but fishing. We're talking fishing, nothing but fishing. We're talking fishing.
And it is a special edition of Talking Fishing tonight. We are joined in the studio by the candidate for Carrum, Donna Bauer, and the opposition leader, Matthew Guy. And we're talking fishing tonight. So, Matthew, you made an announcement, let's kick it off, about 6 weeks ago, I think, on boat ramps.
Yeah.
Over to you.
Well, we did that in Donna's electorate, and that was to make sure that we're going to quarantine all that money for those boating licences to that infrastructure. So it's about $100 million over the forward estimates, and I think that's very important. I mean, other states have a lot more money invested into those basic facilities, and whether it's back into the new Blue Water Infrastructure Fund that we'll create, I think that's the right thing to do. It's been called for by this industry for a long time, and I think it's about time government got on and did it.
It's funny, one of those things. Tony Tardio from 3AW News rang me this afternoon just on the way in, and he said, how much of licensed money in boat rego is there? And I said, 27 million. He goes, and how much goes back into boating? I said, about 3, or the marine safety stuff and that, there's probably a little bit more. And he said, how long has that been going on? I said, about 40 years. And he said, well, why? And I said, well, I think boaters just put up with it, and it was just the way it is. But we've seen this great model that's grown and grown and grown with rec fishing and I think back in the day it was Jeff Craig, who was a former
minister.
He was former board member of Future Fish. Don't worry about being a minister. He was a member of our board. And I think Jeff, when he was running ports, had a bit to do with introducing the licence, setting up the trust fund, and that's been a great success story for anglers. And it's actually an envy of a lot of Australia now. I mean, Tasmania would love an all waters licence. South Australia would love an all waters licence because it actually gives them a pool of money to reinvest in the sport. It's now time for boating to have the same thing.
And that's exactly right, is you've got to have that pool of money, and to quarantine every cent of that money, of all of those licences, back to that infrastructure, I think is important. It's also, I think, stunning that Tony Tardio must talk to everyone around town. I can't believe he talks to you as well.
He does, he actually came in and co-hosted a show.
Tony Tardio.
Yeah. Well, when we're at 3AW,
he really does talk to everyone.
Before we got the sack and Sydney took over 3AW, we had a really good, because we used to go and we'd get there before the show and we'd go and sit with Tony Tardio every Friday night, didn't we?
We did.
But you're right, it is, I think, and Donna, it was in Donna's area where we launched the policy. I think it is about time, and I think it is very much deserved. I think, in fairness, you've all been very, very patient. And I think that's probably not the word, but you have been patient, and now deserve all that money.
It's now time.
It's time.
So with the marine, with the Blue Infrastructure Fund, is that like a trust account?
Yes, it is. So it's managed by the Ports Corporation as well, and then with input from you guys as to where the money goes. And it needs to be there to upgrade those facilities, whether it's safety, basic infrastructure such as the ramps, and we've seen some of those ramps. I think we went down further in the bay, and you could see where cars can slip, and Donna, you know examples of that. They're just not properly maintained, and there's not the money to properly maintain them. And yet, you've got over the 4 years, the forward estimates period, more than $100 million that could be used. So exactly how you open the show about the amount of tourism dollars for Victoria. If you invest, you'll get more back. if we actually invest into the whole industry, how much we'll then get back from people who then come and launch their boats in Victoria if they've got better facilities to do that. That's what that money's for.
Yep.
So within that fund, Matthew, does that cover marine safety and volunteer rescue organisations to not only keep them afloat but also get them thriving? Would that come out of that fund as well?
Yeah, it does, Adam. It does, and that's why it's important for us to invest in those two aspects of the industry, is to actually give them a platform to have some money. At the moment, you're borrowing in steel to try and get
apart from rattling the can at an intersection, that's really their only funding to get new motors or change to their club rooms and things like that. So
this doesn't exclude. Sorry, but this doesn't exclude like the inland angler either, does it?
Not at all.
So we're talking about a lot of talk down here, and I'm from Shepparton, so a lot of this talk is along the bay, and which it's needed down here. But
about out of the 27 mil, you get about 1,000 in Shepparton.
Oh, do we? Oh, Bob the farmer down the road with his backhoe. Make a good boat ramp on the Goulburn.
Right across the state.
There's infrastructure that might be on the Loddon, on the Goulburn, on our side of the, whether it's up north on the Murray as well, whatever it might be. There is now money that needs to be available, and we've got it, so we need to quarantine it and properly use it.
Now, you've talked about the Victorian Ports Corporation Melbourne. Is the day-to-day management of boat ramps going to change under your election promise, or is it going to stay with all the, I would call a basket case of councils, committees of management, Parks Victoria, then we go to the next committees of management. And I know it's complex, it's very, very complex, but we think that's something that needs fixing.
It needs a new authority to manage it. I think you're right. I think it is a basket case, and that's where we've got to have you guys on that board as well to actually manage the process, manage where the money's going to be spent, decide where the money's going to go. You can't have people who only make a commercial decision sitting in an office in Melbourne, or councils who only make a decision around their own infrastructure. You've got to have a body that understands wreck fishers, understands what it's going to mean for our economy, and others who can work together. That's why we need a new authority to do that.
I mentioned an example last week, and I don't mind repeating it because it's probably the classic example of what is going on, is that the Rye boat ramp is under reconstruction. So they're making a great upgrade to it, and it's going to be really good, but it's closed right now. In the prime snapper season, Rye is closed. You've got a boat ramp on one side in Tutkaruk, and you've got another one on the other side on the borderline of Rye and Bleagarry. That's run by a committee of management. That's run by the council. That one's run by another committee of management. All three of them don't talk, and so those two weren't prepared for boat launching. This one's out of action for boat launching, and you've got nothing between Safety Beach and Sorrento now. And it's so important to bring that all together under one, to say, hey, this is a package now. Let's look after boaters. So
perfect example of why you need a new authority. Perfect example.
All right, the other big one to this is free launching. How good is that?
It's again. I think it's about time. I think it is the right thing for us to do. Donna would know this in her patch.
Absolutely.
Why it means so much.
Absolutely, one of the busiest launching ramps in the state. Launching way. And I've paid and launched my own trailer. I can actually reverse the trailer down that boat ramp. It took me many years to learn how to do that, but I can reverse it. But no,
it's a competition.
That's right.
But it's been a.
Don't bring it up, Joey.
Don't bring up the ladies in backing competition.
I just hope there's no one filming it when I launch the boat. But I've had some good teachers with the boys. But no, it has been a really popular policy.
Do you know what? I reckon out of all the policies that any party's thrown up so far, you can throw millions at this and you can throw millions in that, but if people can save their $17 per launch, it means a difference, And people might have a $100,000 boat, but it's kind of the principle of having to pay $17. That $17, goes into council coffers and doesn't come back into the ramp.
It's really personal, isn't it?
It is. It's personal.
That's the best way to describe it.
It's probably the biggest thing for fishermen right now, is that they're going to get free launching.
Look, we'll have to. Sorry, Donna. We'll have to subsidise the councils, but
and people don't mind that.
I think that's something that the government will have to do. I think it's the right thing to do, and as you said, I think it's about time that we offered that, and that people could just launch for free.
And it amounts to hundreds of dollars. And imagine being able to put that money into bait, into some new, pilchards or whatever you need to take out fishing.
Yeah. Because all those things add up too.
Definitely.
It's the $17.
Right.
I mean, the burley.
Catch of the week next time.
Absolutely.
A lot of the times the people actually write into us and they say it's hard to pay because they've got an app, we've got to pay by this method.
That's the other thing. It's very confusing.
It's very confusing as far as when you get down there, it's like, I haven't got a smartphone.
Or change.
Or change. Exactly.
Yeah. All right, next one. The big bay strategy.
Yes.
Well, we think we do need a bay strategy. I think we need to make sure that all the users of the bay can work together, can have corresponding values. The bay is the biggest inland body of water in the world, and we forget that. Port Phillip Bay is enormous, and so to have a strategy that everyone's involved about, whether it's tourism, whether it's commercial, how we're going to use the bay, those people who are there's ships going up and down it, there are people who want to put ferries on it. We need to have a proper bay strategy.
Whales. We have whales.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And I mean, even the dolphin operators.
Dolphin reserves.
Don't get me started on the
boating safety as well, infrastructure around what's needed. To actually have a strategy that's developed that government is managing, but also that rec fishers know, well, where is it going? What's happening, and can we be a part of this?
I want a seat on this if you're forming a committee or something, because I've always thought, and I'm not going to hold you to this, so please don't.
It's all right. I don't think I could say no to you.
But, what about, and I know it came up when they were doing the channel deepening, what about create a new island in Port Phillip Bay that actually became a safe haven for boats? What about if there was accommodation on that, like Rottnest Island or something like there's so many possibilities for this great asset of Port Phillip Bay. And I think, if you're building a strategy that's a 2040 type thing, so it's a pretty long-term plan, and it shouldn't have too many boundaries around it.
Well, think about it. We have strategy like Plan Melbourne, which when I was the planning minister, we put in place. Plan Melbourne is a great big document, how we're going to grow Melbourne for the year 2040, 30, 40 years. Well, we have nothing for the water that the city surrounds. Here we have this great big body of water which has got Melbourne, it's got Geelong, it's got Bellarine, it's got the Mornington Peninsula, and yet we have no defining strategy as to what we do with this great big body of water that we all look at. And so that's why I think it's important.
All right, we are continuing on building the list for the Liberal Nationals, but we must go to a break. Coming back, we've got plenty more to talk about on Talking Fishing.
Talking fishing.
Good morning, spotters. Stephanie speaking.
Talking fishing, nothing but fishing. We're talking fishing, nothing but fishing. We're talking fishing.
Welcome back to Talking Fishing. Donna Bauer, the candidate for Carrum, Matthew Guy, the opposition leader, in the studio with us tonight. We're talking Liberal Nationals policy for recreational fishing and boating, and let's keep working through the list, Matthew. The next one on the list is fish habitat.
A restoration fund for $30 million. Again, I think that'd be money well spent, but it's to invest in marine, estuarine, freshwater habitat restoration projects throughout the state. And I think that could again be something which would make a great difference to the health of a lot of rivers and streams. And I think it's money well spent.
So that includes like artificial reefs and all that sort of stuff as well.
I think that's right. Yes, it would. And I think that's, again, it's a lot of money, but it's worthwhile.
So is that new money?
Yes, it is.
Absolutely. Wow. That is fantastic. $30 million is a lot of money, and you can do a lot with that. So.
You can do a lot with believe me, from government, you can do a lot with $30 million. You can make it go a long way.
Absolutely.
That's right. So under a structure, as you see, who would administer this type of funding and how How'd that work?
Well, it would. We'd look at a role for stakeholders like yourselves, like VR Fish, the seafood industry, others who might have a say back as to how we'd administer it.
Yep.
But I think it would be, as I said, it needs to be an industry-wide body. It comes together, and I think that'd be the best way to do it.
Yeah. Yep.
There you go. Now I threw us all out. I admit it. I threw us all out, but I'm missing one, so I apologise for that. Let's move on to the next one, which I think's the next one. It says here, develop a recreational fishing tourism strategy.
Yeah. Well, again,
am I back on track?
Yeah, I think you are.
I'm just going to check with you all.
I'm just following your lead now.
VR Fish, tourism boards, local government. We need a rec fish tourism strategy for the state. And you'd attest to this, how important it is, not just for your seat in Carrum, but up in through Northern Vic as well.
Absolutely.
You know, places like the Loddon, the Goulburn, and I think that's why if we have that kind of strategy, pictures you had from that guy from Sydney who's got a catch of the week that he sent in here, showing what you can catch in Victoria. That's why we need to promote why it's so good to come and rec fish in Victoria. And you know, whether it's $30 million for fish stocks and whatever it is, we then have a tourism strategy to market ourselves around Australia to say, come and fish in Victoria. And then you've got to have the infrastructure to support that. That's what we can do.
The facts are we've got all these trophy fisheries that no one knows about. You know, there's been so much effort gone into stocking, and we've got some of the most beautiful waterways in some of the most pristine, beautiful areas, and no one knows about it.
I often say we've got world-class fisheries in Victoria. We've got world-class southern bluefin tuna off Portland. Because the fishery's been looked after, and so we have got a world-class size. We've got world-class calamari fishing because the netters are gone in Port Phillip Bay, and they're just big and breeding well and in fantastic numbers. I reckon our King George whiting is now starting to nudge South Australia. You know, when we've got the big plus 40s and the odd 50s in, you know, it's getting there. We've certainly got world-class Murray cod, and I know Murray cod aren't everywhere,
but we've got the first waterway where it's open year-round. There's a closed season everywhere else, and we've got this beautiful big body of water in Victoria where you can go and target them every day of the year.
And we've got world-class dusky flathead, probably the biggest in Lake Tyers,
and that's growing massively.
You know,
that is growing massively.
So it just says, you know, when you see the ads for going to Tassie for trout fishing, or the ads to go to New Zealand for trout fishing, we've got 5 or 6 species that we should have tourism ads for in Victoria.
Well, there's a lot of people who are willing to travel to fish. You guys know it.
We do.
So why wouldn't we advertise to get them to come to Victoria to do that? You know, my job is I want to be the Premier, which is the chief salesman for the state. Well, I want people to come here, and if rec fishing is a thing to do in Victoria, let's talk about it. Let's advertise.
That's right. And generally, the rec fisher is the guy who goes along in his shorts, stubby shorts, and he'll buy a pie, and he'll buy his bits and pieces at the local shops. They're not the Chardonnay drinkers who take along in their bag and then take their bag home with them. So we do actually, us as recreational fishing, spend a lot of money, and I think it's worked out like $360 per visit. You know, and I'm sure that doesn't include my esky, but you know, we do spend a lot of money as recreational fishing. Another thing too with councils and things, I know with Shepparton, we turn our back on the river. Yeah, and I'm not going to. Well, I'm going to knock the Shepparton council as far as that goes, because you go along a lot of these towns along the Murray, and they've got, you know, Mildura's got a magnificent, you know, setting for the Murray River. A lot of these towns don't recognise the fact that they turn their back to all these little creeks and rivers and things that can be developed into great fishing areas, great access, which we're probably going to talk about later on. So, no, it's really good.
Let's move on. The Gippsland Lakes Plan, pretty important to a lot of rec anglers.
Well, look, as someone, I mean, I've got a holiday house on the, near Locksport, so we're down there quite a lot. And
the Irrigard.
Well, actually, it's just up the road from there, and I've got to tell you, some of them, it's really hit and miss. Sometimes you can go there and there's no mozzies. And other times you can go there and they are literally, they'll swarm your car. They have a thing for metallic paint. They just swarm the car. But then the only way to deal with that is to have your pesticide and to spray around the house. So I nuke my place like it's Chernobyl. I'm not even ask about Chernobyl. But I nuke it. I don't hear a bird. I don't hear anything. I don't hear any mozzies. We want to have we want to buy out those licences. I know some want to do it compulsorily. We want to do it voluntary. We think that we obviously support small business, my side of politics, so we want to do it, we'll encourage it, but we will do it on a voluntary basis. And as I said, I want to make sure that the lakes are healthy. We go out to Sperm Whale Point, and I go out there with one of my mates from Gippsland, and we go out and have a barbecue out there. And the last thing we want is to see it empty of anything that we drop a line in, but that's what we want to do.
Matthew, one of the, I guess, and I'll be honest with you, criticism of a voluntary buyback is that if you offer that voluntary buyback, and I think you guys have committed about $2 million to that.
That's about right.
And you don't restrict the remaining netters in there, they can take as much as anyone, and they can take as much as the netters that you've bought out.
Yeah.
So it doesn't actually have any impact on the Gippsland Lakes.
Yeah, I understand that, and that's why we'll need to monitor that. And whether we need to speed that up or how we manage that is going to have to be. We will look at as we go on, because I understand that's obvious. If there's more in there and there's fewer players, they'll just take more and they'll just keep it for longer.
Or they'll take equal to the 10 guys that are there now. You take 5 out, the other 5 fish harder and take us. Right. So it's probably a really big concern for us. So
history will play a part in that as far as statistics going back 10, 15 years, because we've seen, over the show, we've shown some statistics. So I'd hope that they'd be taken into consideration in your measurement of what's going on there.
Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah. Very good point.
Not sure whether you've got it in your notes, but you've also promised a cafe down at Bullock Island. Is that in your note? No, it's not.
Cafe down there.
No,
the proprietor.
It's all. I've got your preview notes here. No, you actually have with the co-op down there, which I think, and we talked about this last week. The big thing about Lakes Entrance is it's known for its commercial fishing fleet, and I was there for the public rally 2 weeks ago now, and I walked morning walk. There was probably 40 commercial boats in Lakes Entrance, and you've been there plenty of times, Donna.
Love it.
And this, a voluntary or a compulsory buyback, it doesn't mean the end of commercial fishing for Lakes Entrance, because there's a very, very big offshore fishery.
That's right.
There's a very big co-op that they all bring their fish to, and there's, at the moment, you can buy your fresh fish, but you guys have made a promise, probably under a different portfolio, to set up a big cafe, and Labor's matched that. So
that's right. And look,
regardless, there's going to be some really good things happening in Lakes.
Tim Bull, the local MP, did make that commitment down there, and we're pretty confident that if we offer the right incentive, we can buy back those licences pretty quickly.
Yep. Very good. All right, we might take another break because we've got a fair bit to get through. We'll take a break. Coming up next, more promises from the Liberal Nationals. Next on
Talking Fishing.
We know what you'd rather be doing.
We know what you've really got in mind.
We know you'd rather be out fishing. And today's the day you're gonna wet a line. 'Cause every day's a good day.
Stop wishing.
Every day's a chance to drift away. Drift away.
Every day's a good day for fishing. See it down and tackle world today.
Talking fishing, nothing but fishing. We're talking fishing, nothing but fishing. We're talking fishing.
It is a special episode of Talking Fishing. Donna Bauer, candidate for Carrum, and opposition leader Matthew Guy in the house with us tonight. Let's keep building the list, and let's kick off the next one, stocking more native fish.
$7 million for a new native fish hatchery near Shepparton. We want to boost...
We weren't on it.
Build fish breeding capacity, reduce reliance on interstate supplies. It'll expand Victoria's fish stocking program. $7 million worth again. I think that is really important.
That's a no-brainer.
Yeah, no, it's good, and I think in the notes that your people sent me, they emphasise that while we're buying, I think 4 million fish from New South Wales, it's time to bring it in-house. And that is a magnificent announcement that it's all coming back in-house, and good for Shepparton, Trelly.
Absolutely, yeah.
You might be able to have your parties there or something.
Well, I could too. I've got to probably keep the population of shags down a little bit. Different ways.
We don't want to know how. Sure, you're happy with that, Charlie?
We don't want to know how.
You're talking about the birds.
Yeah.
All right, just had to clarify.
And he might feed them pellets that are fired instead of hand-fed. Anyway, it's all good.
All to save the fish.
The big thing with that too, and again, I don't mind declaring to the people at home that I chair the Snobs Creek Advisory Board for Victorian Fisheries, and one of the things that we said as a board is that we're in strife a little bit if stocking is going to continue, because while we buy all those fish from New South Wales, some of those New South Wales hatcheries have been bought by international companies and are now looking at growing those fish out for human consumption overseas, and that stock might dry up. And then all of a sudden we haven't got those 2 million native fish, or 4 million, whatever it is, to stock. So
that's why we should do it ourselves, Victoria, and put the $7 million on the table to do it.
Absolutely brilliant. Let's keep moving on. Improve access for recreational fishers.
Yeah, on-water access for rec fishers, allow them into more reservoirs. Tullaroot Reservoir as one, and that gives opportunities for new fisheries, secure access, new emerging fisheries, and just gives more opportunities. Simple as that.
So does that on-water access include motorised boats, or are we looking at, say, kayak fisheries, or you say electric motors only? What sort of thing?
So you're a kayak snob.
Yeah, no, I'd be happy to just cross out the motorised part.
Oh, no, we want motorised boats.
Well, I can assure you kayaks will be on there, so that's okay. So you'll be fine.
That's all that matters, Charlie.
Right, wow,
write it down.
That's right. Put that over along.
Alrighty, moving along. RFL revenue. It is a big chunk of money these days, and you guys are just going to have a look at how that's spent.
Yeah, we are, and the Rec Fishing Trust account will need to make sure it is delivering what you want it to deliver, which is around better fishing for the state. So we're going to have a look at that. We'll have a proper review and audit how we do it. We'll get you guys involved in how we're going to do that, where it's spent. Be transparent about it so you can see where it's going, but basically make sure the money's going where it's meant to go. And this is probably the problem we got in with boating licences. As you said, 40 years ago, people collected it and then no one ever knew publicly where the money was going. It's the same concept. Nowadays, no one knows where it's going. So if we now have an audit and say, well, this is where it's going, is it going the right places, yes or no? We can find out very quickly before it gets to a state like the boating licences where, in effect, it was going to the wrong places.
Just on this one, and I read in your notes that it was a response to a request from VR Fish to ensure it's delivering what we all want. I guess one of the things that I was a bit amused at was that the chairperson of VR Fish is also the chairperson of the Rec Fishing Grants Group, and it's like, is he doing an audit on himself?
Well, probably at this stage. So. Look, I think more of the point, it's about making sure that that information is public, and he might have governance restrictions about what he can and can't say. Once you do a public audit, you don't, and that means that he knows is not being done properly, not just from the board, but from the administration side in the government. That then becomes public.
Beautiful. I think the other important point, just a comment on that, is that the Rec Fishing Licence Trust account's grown because in I think it was about 2 years ago, there was some new legislation that came in that actually indexed that licence money each year now, so it goes up by whatever it is, a couple of points or whatever it is. And years ago it was about a $4 million pool. Now it's well over $8 million, and it's kind of now it's a big chunk of money that needs to be spent wisely. I've always said to Victorian Fisheries that it's almost like you've got this committee at the back end that says, we're going to provide advice to the minister how to spend it. You almost need another committee at the front end doing some planning work about what should it be spent on. Not just totally rely on grant applications.
So as you said, it's more than governments operate in 4-year blocks. So our forward estimates are 4 years. You're talking more than $30 million that they're planning. That one committee is talking about spending $30 million over that period. That's a lot of money. It's the same as the boating licences, which are now over $100 million. So that's a big responsibility. And as you said, we need to make sure we're spending it in the right locations. And if the overall strategy is to get more recreational fishers from interstate coming to Victoria, to stock our rivers and streams with more fish and have hatcheries in Victoria, to cut out those fees so that more people are boating and more people are going out rec fishing, then you've got to make sure that the money that is being spent by the industry, if you like, is actually going to the right places. That's what those audits will do.
Absolutely. Beautiful. All righty.
Good work.
Just got a few fisheries news items I need to cover off too, because it's, I guess, having a couple of weeks of doing this sort of stuff, we've lost the news, and there's a couple of things we do need to get through. Just quickly, get your cod fix at the 3rd Annual Murray Codference. It's coming up very quickly, and it's filling up quickly.
It is.
Trelly. I think we've got a couple of slides here. Recreational anglers can once again learn about Victoria's Murray cod fisheries and how to improve their own fishing success at the 3rd Annual Murray Codference in Shepparton on Sunday the 9th of December. Freshwater Fisheries Manager Anthony Forster said this year's Murray Codference will be bigger than ever, with sensational speakers and the very latest on how our native fish are tracking. Now, Murray cod is growing
massively.
The keynote speaker, boys, get this, is Australia's own USA Bass Pro Tournament champion, Carl Jochimson.
That's cool.
That's
That's
now,
really
he's like Mark Webber and Daniel Ricciardo.
He's one of the Formula One drivers in
bass fishing. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. Look at their rigs; they look like Formula One cars.
They do. Yeah,
so he's the guest speaker. He'll be sharing his epic journey into competition fishing and the latest tournament tactics to help anglers improve their fishing skills and knowledge. Lubin Pfeiffer will talk about his tactics to catch big Murray cod.
And he's seen a few big fish in his time.
He has. Right. And Stephen Booth will cover the latest golden perch fishing techniques. Bill Klassen will reflect on Victoria's native fish revolution. Will Truman will talk about bringing trout, cod and macquarie perch back, and Robbie Alexander about fishing local waters and getting kids involved. The free conference will be held at the East Bank Conference Centre, 70 Wellsford Street in Shepparton from 9am until 4pm. Tea, coffee and lunch provided. Sunday, 9th of December.
And can I announce, exclusive announcement?
Yeah.
Carl's going to sign one of his rods, which is a Miller rod, which we're going to give away at the conference. So he's going to sign one of the rods to give away as one of the prizes there. So get yourself along.
For those who don't know who Carl is, get to the conference and check him out, because he is a rock star of fishing, and I mean that in the best possible way.
He is, yeah. And there's a barbecue at Trolleys after that.
Get up.
Punching right along, because there's a few things. Volunteers needed for recreational fishing licence fees advisory group. If you care about fishing, this is a really important one. The Victorian Fisheries Authority is seeking nominations from keen recreational fishers to join a working group that provides advice to government on how best to spend fishing licence fees. All the money raised from fishing licences goes back directly to improving recreational fishing in Victoria. This means more fish stock, better fishing access and healthier rivers and bays. Victorian Fisheries Authority Chief Executive Travis Dowling said the Recreational Fishing Grants Working Group consists of 8 recreational fishers appointed for a 3-year term who collectively brought together a range of fishing knowledge and experience from across the state. These volunteers review and prioritise project submissions from angling clubs, community groups, councils and government agencies. Nominations for the working group close on the 30th of November, and all the details are up there on your screen of how to nominate, if you like, and we'll put them all up on our social media tomorrow. A really important committee. I was on that committee, I think, back in 2005, so I know Lynette Hogan, a good friend of ours, was on it for a 3-year term. I think they might have even done 6. But it's a way that if you really care about licence money and you're passionate about how it's spent, this is actually the way to get on there and have a say. So really, really good news item. And the last one, rock lobster season opens this Friday. We want to get that one in. Keen recreational fishers are checking their dive gear and rigging their hoop nets ahead of season opening for rock lobster this Friday, 16th of November. Victorian Fisheries Authority Travis Dowling said rock lobster fishers planning a season opening trip at week's end could expect to see plenty of uniformed officers out and about as part of Operation Brass. Operation Brass. My eyes are good. I'll get through this. Officers right along the coast from east to west will be undertaking patrols focused on rock lobster fishers. They will be checking rec fishing licences, inspecting catch bags, and also boosting community awareness of the 3-year tagging trial. We've got a photo of a tag coming up soon. Introduced in 2017, the tagging trial requires everybody to take rock lobster recreationally to tag each lobster individually using free coloured tags provided by the VFA. Fisheries are reminded that the daily bag limit is 2, possession limit's 4, minimum legal size is 11 centimetres for males, 10.5 for females. Rock lobster tails must be clipped or tail punched. Rock lobsters with eggs or soft shells cannot be taken. Rock lobster can only be taken by hand or with hoop nets. Snares, gaffs, hooks and baited sticks cannot be used to assist in the taking of rock lobster.
Take all the fun out of it.
Can I also say that I think they're back on the menu at the Lobster Cave? No, this is serious. I've got a serious question, right? Does rock lobster taste better with Grange or Chardonnay?
Oh, no, it's got to be Chardonnay.
Chardonnay. Was it just that the Grange was for free that day, or you can't?
Oh, no, my memory's exhausted.
In all seriousness, Matthew, Donna, can I thank you for coming in tonight?
Thank you so much.
Some great announcements tonight, and it does make a big difference to fishing in Victoria. And Donna, I've known you for many years. I know your passion for fishing, boating, catching fish, your 4 sons. It's just, it is a beautiful story. So
thank you, David. Look, and it's a pleasure to be here. And boating and fishing, it's one of our growing industries, so it's really worth supporting.
Absolutely.
And appreciate your time, Matthew. Neil Mitchell will be so jealous of us. He actually wrote it. We were going to do mailbag tonight. I forgot to do that. But Neil Mitch, it's 75 questions he had for you tonight.
75. Well, he didn't have one, which is, are you going to have a minister for boating?
Yes.
Don't you think we should make Donna the minister for boating? We should actually have. We've got everything for fishers, but nothing for boating.
Absolutely.
It's about time we had a minister for boating.
So a portfolio for
portfolio of boating. I think
enough.
it's a good start.
So what are you trying to say?
I think it's been launched tonight on the fish on talking.
You'll have a new portfolio.
Here we are. So that's it. We're going to look at a new portfolio.
There you go.
Fantastic.
Where are we over there? That's an exclusive.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys, for coming.
Thank you.
Really
Thank you.
appreciate it. Coming up next, the all-important hotspots and plenty more on Talking Fishing.
Talking fishing.
G'day, Callan here from Paul Worslam's Tackle World Cranbourne.
Supercharged batteries have been supplying maintenance-free marine batteries since 2001. The Seamaster Gold range is second to none, delivering superior starting power and reserve capacity. No need to top up with water, truly a fit and forget battery. With up to 2 years replacement warranty, you know you have quality. Your battery is your lifeline. Without it, you're dead in the water because it's bloody hard to push start.
I've got a Seamaster battery in my boat.
Make yours a Seamaster Gold today.
Talking fishing, nothing but fishing, we're talking fishing.
And now the segment you've all been waiting for.
Hotspots, brought to you by Seamaster Batteries.
Now I'm going to give away a secret, boys.
So what have we got for the kayaking hotspots this week, Dave?
Okay. That bloke keeps writing to us. What's his name?
I don't know.
He calls himself the kayak fisherman or something now. And
Yeah, so I got his back.
anyway, people like Trolley Man. You're going to start a GoFundMe page for him or something? Anyway, let's kick it off. We're going to give away a secret. There is an amazing run of King George whiting off Rye.
Oh, hello.
Yeah, I know it's snapper season, but you know what happens down there? Quite often, and we've got the first one up, quite often they will shut down come the end of December because all the boats, the jet skis are down there for the holidays. If you want to go and get yourself a good King George whiting, off Rye now.
And you can do that in a kayak.
You can do that in kayak. Yeah, they're not
better
very
than
far
a
offshore.
boat because they're very quiet.
They're
very quiet.
Yeah.
Worry, Trelly. Would you leave your boat at home for that, mate?
Absolutely. Right, let's get into the snapper hotspots. And there's plenty of fish coming in off outside of Patterson Lakes, if you like, out through Carrum. Head right, Chelsea, 17 metres is the place to go.
Can't really do that in a kayak. So if I was in a kayak, I'd be going to Mornington or Ricketts.
What's with the kayak?
Well, the people want to know, Dave. Stop ignoring these people. What's that?
Was you first conceived in a kayak?
I know you have to ask me.
All right, the next one's out near the Continental Shelf. It's called Hastings.
We might be towed out there.
Let's head over to Western Port, and Hastings is a very, very good hotspot at the moment. Plenty of snapper, fish deep, fish that 19, 20 metre line, and plenty of good fish out there. So, and surprisingly, I think we saw Western Port drop off a little bit. Certainly come back again.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The reports from Western Port in the last probably 7, 8, 9, 10 days have been really promising because it looked like it was going to fall off the map again, like it has the last few years. But it's well and truly worth a look. It's been fishing really well.
Yeah, absolutely. The next one, just around the corner from Hastings, if you like, and sort of hang a left is Rill. And
so nowhere near Hastings.
Well, down off Rill again, off Phillip Island, fish out deep as you can out there. It's 14, 15 metres, and there's been some beautiful snapper from around that area.
My tip of the week, it's Rill. That's if you want to catch a snapper at this point of the day, Rill is the go. It does run quite hard through there, but you're not fishing very deep, so you can avoid using those 14, 16, 14 ounces of lead. It's not a far trip from the corals, which has been fishing really well, and dusk has been the go.
Trelly, the next one is around your neck of the wood, Lake Eildon again, Bonnie Doon area, and Delatide Arm for yellow belly has been fishing sensational.
Been getting some good reports from up there, The guys have been sort of chasing them up in the sounder, so you can actually find them. If you've got the good sounders, you can look left or look right. So if you just drift into a bay and you've got it set on the right hand side and you're drifting around that side of the bay, you can actually pick them up on the bait is one thing, but probably bibless lures, things like that have been working pretty well. Some of your rocky points. But a lot of the guys.
When you say bibless, so what are they sinking?
Yeah, like little jackal.
Like
you
a
know,
vibe.
bib.
Oh, yeah.
Like little diamonds. Yeah, and you just
I know
sort of
what
cast
you're
them
talking
out and roll them. And put if you're looking for a good quality lure like that bibless lure, put them beside the boat and roll them really slow. If they just come back like a stick in the water, it's not a good lure. If they come back and you're just ticking them over and they're doing this, that's what you need.
Now that's one thing I do want to try personally in the kayak this season is a yellow belly.
Yeah. The other thing is a lot of people bait fishing up there, Trelly. I know we're selling yabbies like they're going out of fashion, and people are saying that if you're out in a boat, pull up on the bank, cast a yabby out into the deep, let it sink. Just put your rod in a rod holder for 5 minutes. Let it absolutely sink, and slowly wind it, creating that little bit of mud, sand, sort of. As the yabby scrapes along the bottom, they reckon they're catching a lot of yellow belly that way.
They do, and like a size 00 sinker, that's a really tiny sinker, and just let it sort of really takes a while to get down to the bottom. Actually, exactly right. You're talking. There
you go. And lucky last, this place is absolutely on fire, and not only are the dusky flathead biting at lay tyres, but ads, we've had some reports of mulloway.
Yeah, and it's the first mulloway reports we've had from lake tyres for as long as I can remember. I've been working at the shop a long time, and I can't remember any. And we've had a couple, and they're not small.
Mulloway was stocked.
That's right.
Now, I rang Travis Dowling on this one. I said, are they the stocked fish? And he said, well, potentially, yes. I mean, although we have heard reports of 80 centimetres, I don't know how fast they grow, but when you're in
the unknown.
When you're in a closed system, that is absolutely chockers with food. It was stocked with prawns.
We had this conversation, you and I,
Yeah.
and there's no reason they couldn't be stocked fish. When you're in such a good paddock like that, we've seen growth rates in other species explode in these sort of environments. There's every reason they could be.
And people traditionally don't fish for mulloway there, so I think we're going to see this summer probably, a portion of people go, hey, I'm going to take my technique there and have a go.
Well, and they probably will be bycatch because it's a similar kind of technique to targeting the big duskies.
Yeah.
The only thing that will change is maybe a few of the areres, but I think that's going to be an exciting one for tyres because it's just going to add another element to that place because it has exploded the last few years.
Mouth open or closed down there?
Oh no, 100% closed.
Very much.
Probably a 300-metre sandbank.
Very much so.
It's a long way from opening, so you're going to be...
Which isn't necessarily a bad thing for the fishing over the summer, I must say, because it just congregates a fish a bit.
Yep, there you go. That's it for Talking Fishing. We hope you enjoyed the show. I know it was a bit political, but we need to get that one out the way. Now, fellas, just a word of warning. Make the most of the next 2 weeks for snapper fishing before your wives, girlfriends or partners drag you out shopping, attend Christmas parties and make you get ready for Christmas. December, it's all over for a lot of blokes. So go fishing this weekend. Until we see you again next Tuesday on Talking Fishing, please stay safe on the water and enjoy your fishing.
Talking fishing, nothing but fishing, we're talking fishing. We got all you need, just take a look. Watch those fish jump on your hook. So just relax and take your time. Enjoy the show, then drop us a line. Talking fishing, nothing but fishing, we're talking fishing. Talking fishing, nothing but fishing, we're talking fishing. Talking fishing.
Have a good weekend, Mr. Walker.
You too, son.